It may be a little early to turn to Afghanistan's 2014 presidential race, but one candidate is already capturing the imagination of many Afghans. Determined to rise above death threats and prejudice, Fawzia Koofi hopes to become Afghanistan's first female president. She currently sits as a deputy speaker in the Afghan parliament and has long been an advocate of human rights in the country, focusing particularly on the rights of women and children. But can any woman garner sufficient support in such a male-dominated society? Is Afghanistan really moving in the right direction? And what would happen should the Taliban return to power? Well, Fawzia is here right now, and welcome.
Thank you.
It's very good to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
With these negotiations going on at the moment and so on, three-way negotiations and so on, do you think there's any danger that the government of Afghanistan and the United States would agree to Taliban sharing power, and would you?
The recent attempts by the United States to establish, to help Taliban establish the office in Qatar, in Doha, and the so-called peace process, which was initiated by the Afghan government 2-3 years back, put a lot of uncertainty among the Afghan public in terms of what's going to happen. In 2014, when the international community withdraw, which is a need, not an option.
A need until 2014, or a need beyond 2014?
A need beyond 2014. So there is a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen in terms of sharing of power. Now, one thing should be clear, that Taliban don't want to share power. They certainly would like to run the country and rule the country. They have always been presenting three conditions in terms of, you know, peace and reconciliation. One of the conditions is to have an Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan. Right now we have an Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, and according to the constitution, this is an Islamic Republic. Taliban want their own constitution and an Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan constitution. So there is a lot of fear, especially among women and among the human rights and democracy activists, that things will go back to what it was before 2001. Now, I personally think that things will not go as worse as it was in 1996 when Taliban first came, because back by then many people supported Taliban. They didn't know who Taliban were. Some people regard them as agents of peace, some people regard them, they are the one who will secure the country by then, but now people know the actual face of Taliban. They know that under the name of Islam they basically try to impose their own ideology over Afghanistan, and certainly there will be a lot of opponents in Afghanistan against Taliban.
When you said there about who the Taliban are, it's an interesting thing, because a lot of people would say, well, we don't know who the Taliban are. Who are they?
It's a very interesting question. We know who they are in terms of their ideology, their view, because as somebody who lived in Afghanistan the whole my life, but basically during Taliban, I know they're a group of you know, people who have a misinterpretation of Islam. They try to mix Islam with tradition and impose the very extreme form of Islam over Afghanistan, and basically over women of Afghanistan. In Islam, the basis for a human being is education. They stop women from going to school and education. So how can they claim that they are agents of peace and agents of religion if they deprive 55% of the society, which is the woman, from their basic rights? So we know who they are in terms of their ideology, but when it comes to do we know who are we talking on behalf of Taliban? Do they really have one representative that we talk to them?
And are there in fact women, Afghan women, present at these talks that are going on, based in Qatar and so on, these negotiations, the triangular negotiations? Are there any women taking part?
You know, Afghanistan has signed the 1325 resolution of peace and security for women, the Security Council resolution. According to that, Afghan government is responsible to ensure that there are women participation in all the processes. But the thing with the Qatar discussion is that this is basically led by American at this stage. So the Afghan government and its institutions like the parliament and women and civil society is not included. And so when we are not included, the easy thing is we express doubt and concern over the process. When you don't know what's going on, and when things are not certain and transparent, the easy thing is to criticize it. That's why we believe that there should be a comprehensive and inclusive peace process. All institutions, including civil society, including Afghan parliament, including women of Afghanistan, should be involved. Now, there are women in the Peace Council. There is 9 women out of 71 members of the Peace Council, which seem to be kept marginalized from the main decision-making process. They seem to be like a symbol there. We really want a true representation of women because they are the main victim of any changes in Afghanistan.
Right, and tell me something. Have you seen, in fact, in the lives of sort of ordinary Afghans, have you seen a real improvement in living standards since the Taliban originally left and since the United States has been involved and so on and the rest of the world? Have you seen the standards of living in Afghanistan rise at all?
Of course, there is huge changes. You cannot compare the current situation to the Taliban. Now the Afghan government institutions are established. You have a parliament, you have civil society, which is dynamic in many occasions. Children go back to school, people are working, women are working. You see in Kabul buildings are raising every day. Things have changed. The fact that when I was a child, my struggle was to go to school, but now my daughter's struggle is to go to the best school. So it's a matter of choice.
Yes, yeah.
It is a progress. The fact that I'm sitting here today with you explaining the situation of Afghanistan is a progress. But I think comparing...
And for instance, I read that the 5,000 women or girls who originally went to school, the figure now is 2.5 million.
Right now there are 7 million children who go to school, out of which 40% are girls. So 2.3 million children or girls go to school. But there is a matter of quality of education, safety of the girls, because many occasions Taliban actually threw acid on the girls' students. There is a matter of accessibility because some children have to walk 2 hours to get to school. That's a different. When I was a child, many parents will not allow their girls to go to school. But now the parents allow the girls to walk for 2 hours to get to school.
Do you think the Afghan people have got to the stage of development where they could elect a woman president?
I divide Afghan population in 2 sides.
Right.
One side is the progressive part of the society, who are pro-democracy, who don't want to go back to the dark period of Taliban or civil war. They would like to have the basic standards of life, like many other people in the world. They want to enjoy freedom of speech, democracy, institutions to function. I think this part of society lack a strong leader who could represent them. They are the silent majority of the society. That part of society want to change in their leadership. And that if that change result having a woman president, I think they are ready for it, because even in the parliamentary election, there were many men who voted for me as parliamentarian. But in the meantime, there is another part of society which is conservative, which is traditional, being led by traditional leaders. And certainly they don't want to change. They believe any change, they will lose power. And especially when that change results having a woman as a leader, they will certainly lose power. Now that part of society is everywhere, in the government, outside the government. They control the economy, they control social structures. So what I have is my messages and my people. And I trust my people for that.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely fascinating glimpse, and more than a glimpse there, of where Afghanistan may be going. Thanks a million.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Fawzia Koofi there. And her new book, The Favoured Daughter, One Woman's Fight to Lead Afghanistan into the Future, is out now.